So I took, well, I said, get him. I got to pull the grenade out. I pulled the stem, which you got 3 seconds to get rid of it. So I counted 1, 2, and throwed it down. And it no sooner hit him when it went off. Well, it sort of made me sick because it just literally blew him all to pieces. But then the lieutenant come out of the bunker, and he reached down, and I thought he was going to pull a 40 or a little pistol out and start shooting, but that wasn't the case. I found out later that that was their arc of midden defeat. They donated their weapon to the dresser, which that was my squad. He presented me with this little, looked like a 22. Wasn't much bigger than a 22. He presented to me as a token of his surrender. And I said, well, I don't want that. I don't want to carry a little 22. When I pulled the trigger, I said, I want something to go boom. Something to go click. And of course, everybody's around me. You started laughing. They know what I was talking about. But I had a guy in my squad. His name was Wuzamichi. I never forget it because that's sort of a weird name. And he said, I'll take it. I said, give it to me, Sarge, give it to me. I handed it to him, and about that time, our first sergeant was standing there, and he grabbed it. He said, no, you don't get it. He said, that belongs to Sergeant Johnson. I said, I don't want it. He said, take it anyhow. He said, no, I'll take care of you later on. In other words, he's going to take me and turn my name in for some kind of award for taking the pillbox. But then they took the Germans away, and I ended up, I had the little pistol, and I gave it to the sergeant, and he gave it back to me. First sergeant, he gave it back to me, and I stand there holding it, and Wuzamichi come up and looking at it. I said, here, take this. This is yours. I gave him that little pistol, and it just like giving him a handful of candy. He thought that was wonderful. I didn't think that much of it. But anyhow, they took the Germans all back that were still living, took them back to the rear end. And we went on getting ready to get another one. But then they called a different outfit in to take that. So I don't know whatever happened to that, and whether they got it or not. But I got Silver Star for that.
Wow.
And at that time, why, I wasn't worried about a Silver Star. I was worried about living.
Yeah.
After when I started thinking what I went through, why, you're very lucky to come out of there alive.
Well,
Very, very lucky.
when did you get into France? When did you get into France?
Oh, no, I went in, they took me to the hospital.
No, I mean when you first got to France. When was that? Your first day in France, you know?
That first day we had, it was Queen Elizabeth.
Okay.
We anchored down, I got there in that book over there. First day some port there in England.
Okay.
And then we went from England across the pond into France.
Uh-huh.
And that's where we run in a lot of trouble. Fighting. Guys shooting one another and everything else. And that's where we started. We was down, clear down, and was driving the Germans out of France. I remember very vividly driving them out of France. We had a push on, which we pushed them back for 5 miles. So it was getting close to Christmas. As rumors got around, and they said, tonight, get out of the trenches, get ready to take a bus ride. Well, when they say that, that means you're going to go someplace closer. So we got on open air buses, not buses, but trucks. It didn't have nothing but a roof on top of them, piece of tarpaulin over top of it. And it was cold, raining, mud. I think we went 30, 40 some miles. Christmas night. We ended up right in the wherever the Germans had made a big push. I can't think of that name.
Near Bastogne?
Well, it was, yes. It was, they were ready to take Bastogne.
Okay.
In fact, they had Bastogne completely surrounded. And there wasn't any other of the generals of these outfits didn't want to bother with it. They wanted to see, well, let Bastogne fall, so that's one less. But Patton said, I'll take Bastogne. So we attacked Bastogne on Christmas night. On Christmas night, I do remember that. We attacked at Bastogne. And we must have really given them a good going over, because they quit. They quit and backed off, back into Germany they went. And that always stood with Patton. He was the only one who would volunteer his service at night in the trucks. That's where we went, right into Oregon forest. And they said when you got off the truck, make sure you had your bayonet fixture on your rifle, because Germans are all around you. That's always a nice thought to make, when you can't see a guy 5 feet in front of you.
Yeah.
On account of the darkness. But we got that so black that you had to have a password. And if you didn't have the password, they shot you. That's all there was to it. Because there was Germans mixed in with it and everything else.
Do you remember any of the passwords?
But we didn't go right into Bastogne, but we all around outside of Bastogne, and the Germans withdrawed. And Bastogne was saved. But it was the old man himself volunteered 87th Division to go in there and stop the Germans out from going into Bastogne. They had the title of Battle Bastards of Bastogne. That was the title. But then they shipped us back out of there into the lines again, and he took on Germans wherever they was. But that lasted till the last town I was in. Platoon was tacked to the front, and I looked up and there was this old house about halfway blown apart, and there, bang, 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 3 shots. And the word got back right away. There was 2 guys from another outfit got shot, but I think they passed away. But I looked up, there was a guy up in the window. I seen him. And before I could get down and into the dirt where he'd have a hard time seeing me, he got one in me. And I spun around like a top, and from there on I didn't know anything till I got into clearing station, which is classed as where you get sewed up or something till you get to a major operation.
Do you know what day that was?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. The only thing I remember is I can see that guy's face. I see it all the time. I see it. But they brought a big TD and tank destroyer in, and 2 rounds in that house. Why, it leveled. He's gone. But I was gone too. So, man, I did suffer. I did suffer. That hurt so bad. But, and I ended up back in a hospital there in Paris. And I'd say maybe after a week or so, this major come running in there, and he said, "Where's Sergeant Johnson at?" And of course everybody knows everybody else. Well, he's back there in the back. He come running back. He said, "Sergeant Johnson?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I understand you did something." I said, "Well, I'll do something when I'm up there front, sir." He said, "No," he said, "you did something horrible right." He said, "You deserve a medal for it." And he said, "Yeah, I can give you the medal, but I can't give you the writing the paper for it, because the papers has not been ordered yet." And he got on the subject about something happened that I would get the papers some other time, but I never got them. I never got them. 17 years. I went, and never was nothing ever said. And finally, a friend of mine, his daddy had a heart attack, and he come up here to this hospital up here, and me and him got talking about the war. And he said, "Well," he said, "I think you ought to get him." And he said, "I'm going to see that you get him." And he has a friend who is a general in the infantry, and he has a station there in Washington. So he got a hold of him, and he got writing everything where the record of the 87th Division is. And they got a hold of the records, and sure enough, like he said, on the top of the record was your name, Staff Sergeant Irvin W. Johnson. And he said, "That's what I've been looking for 17 years. So then he came back and he explained to me what he would like to do. Have it out the church out here.
Yeah.
And that's what we had, and that's what he had his friend the general come up and presented it with me.
Did you say you quit high school so you wouldn't get drafted?
I think I had about another year or 2 to go, because I missed so much school. And I said, well, I wasn't going to get drafted into the Army, because they come out with it. Then you become a certain age, you become eligible for the draft. And I think about 2 months later, I was sent a card